What is going on, good people of YouTube? It is me, Chavez, back with another Prize Picks video for you. Today is Monday, April 24th, 2023, and we got two games going on in the NBA today. As always, I hope this video finds you all doing well and in good spirits. To kick things off, we will definitely recap our plays from yesterday, and then we're going to dive right into the player prop board over on Prize Picks. I have four player props that I want to talk about maybe in this video. So if you like the way that sounds, stick around, drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and click the notification icon to get notified of all upcoming content and videos from me and my channel. And without further delay, let us jump into those plays from yesterday. A very good day for us yesterday. 4-0 on the day, and I was very happy to see that and very excited to start this video this morning, as it's been a long time since we've had a 4-0 day. So very pleased to talk about these recaps today. So let's start off with the first game that was on the schedule that we had a player prop from, and it was Kevin Herter under his 21.5 PRA. Definitely, fell under that one. Everything that we talked about in the video basically came true. Didn't really see a lot of game flow, not involved in the offense, kind of a liability, and just was never a sweat with that one. So that one checked the box really quickly. And then our next two props came from the same game, the Atlanta-Boston game. We had Trae Young over 8.5 assists, and I think he cleared this by halftime or right at the beginning of the third quarter. And then we had DeJounte Murray over 32.5 PRA, and that was probably the most sweaty prop out of the four because he was very passive, turning the ball over. It was really weird to watch him kind of just fumble the ball. And then down the stretch, he needed 1 PRA. He was stuck at 2, and then he gets a rebound and he gets the putback, and that sealed it right there. And then he did have the garbage time 3-point shot that we really didn't need, but if you were playing his fantasy points or something like that, you probably like to see that. And then we ended the night with a huge prop. It was 27.5 over Anthony Edwards full game points, and it was just really fun to see him and Jokic go back and forth in that third quarter. And Anthony Edwards comes out and scores like 20 fantasy points in the fourth. Definitely puts him over his 27.5, seals the game, and puts a bow on our night. So 4-0 on the day. Man, looking to go 4-0, 3-0 today. Another undefeated day with our player props. I think we can do it. I have a few props that I like. I'll share with you why I like them. So let's transition on over to the Prize Picks board and talk about these. All right, so as we transition back to the Prize Picks board, I do have two plays from the Miami and Milwaukee game that I want to talk about, but they're not going to be household names. To me, this game just feels ugly, but unfortunately, we do have to look into it because there are only two games on the slate. So I myself right now, I'm going to stay away from the big names until we get Giannis news. He's not on the Prize Picks board as of now. Until we get some Giannis news, I'm just going to stay clear of Jimmy and Bam and Middleton and Drew, because I just don't really trust this game environment. We've seen two blowouts, on each side of this game or each side of this series. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like a game I want to put too much into. So let me just start off by pulling up this dude's PRA, and it's Max Strus, currently propped at 18.5 PRA. Man, I like the under on this one. If you are a game log watcher, then you're really going to like what you see here. 1 out of his last 5 games, he's gone under this, but there's more to it. So let's head on over to props.cash, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so pulling up the last 10 games for Max Strus. I mean, this doesn't look too bad when you look at the game log for Max Strus, and actually this needs to be unfiltered. So let me take Oladipo out. I was just curious what that looked like earlier. So this is what it looks like with everybody in. Like, it is what it is. And I'm really focusing on the last 3 games versus the last 10 games, because the last 10 games hold no relevance to what we're seeing in the playoffs now. Playoff basketball is much different. So over the last 3 games, we've seen Max Strus clear the under on this prop in 3 straight games. and it hasn't even been close. I mean, he's just a guy that they're putting out there because of the injuries to Tyler Hero. Prior to this injury, I mean, let's look at his minutes. I mean, his minutes have always been, in that 30 range. But over the last 3 games, we've seen this huge decline in minutes. Spoelstra is pulling his minutes away from him. And from game 1 to game 3, we've seen a 15-minute decrease from Max Strus. Also, this is very interesting, and this is another reason I like this prop. Max Strus, over the last 2 games, has seen zero production and 0 minutes in the fourth quarter, meaning he's not in the closing lineup. He's not out there on the floor. He's kind of a liability on defense. You're definitely not going to see him out there in close games guarding anybody because they're just going to attack him. So when I see this prop and I look at look at this game log here. Over the last 10 games, I know we said it's not relevant, but just look at this. He doesn't really see a lot of fourth quarter playing time. Aside from those 2 games, the first game in Milwaukee and then that last home game, or that last game versus Chicago, that play-in game. I mean, he really is not seeing a ton of time in the fourth quarter. So now you have to ask yourself, can Max Strus give you 19 PRA in 3 quarters? I don't think he can. And I think even with the injury to Oladipo, I don't really see how that impacts his playing time. I think you see guys like Gabe Vincent and Duncan Robinson, who played kind of limited minutes last game, see a little bit of an increase in their playing time versus someone like Max Strus. So give me the under, 18.5 PRA for Max Strus as our first player prop on the board. All right, and for our second play on the board, well, it's not on the board, but Duncan Robinson, 8.5 points. I really like this prop. If it ever were to hit Prizepicks, the Prizepicks board, I like the over on this one. Let's head on over to props.cash. I'll show you a few things that make me like this prop, and then if it is ever put on the board, you'll have some information to support that play. All right, so taking a look at Duncan Robinson in the playoffs. If you want to take a look at his 10-game log, I'm not really trying to hide anything from you here, but 10-game log is what it is. We all know that playoff basketball is much different than regular season basketball. You also have a couple injuries to make note of. You have no Hero, obviously, but then you have no Victor Oladipo, who was coming off the bench with Duncan Robinson. So Oladipo is seeing over 20 minutes these past 2 games. And if he's not in the rotation anymore, those minutes have to get distributed somewhere. So maybe we see an increase of minutes for Duncan Robinson, guys like Vincent and Caleb Martin, maybe even Kyle Lowry gets a few extra minutes. But for a guy who's shooting lights out, as soon as he gets in the game, he's shooting the ball. He's averaging, these past 2 games, he's going to give you 20-plus minutes. Both of those games were a blowout. Blowout for Miami, blowout for Milwaukee. So it's really hard to get a read on what his true minutes per game are. But we do know he's going to give you over 20 minutes. And in those minutes, he's shooting the ball. I mean, 8 times in 20 minutes, 9 times in 20 minutes, 7 of 9, 5 of 8. Look at his 3-point attempts. Huge production there. Very efficient. He's in there for one reason, and it's to shoot the ball, preferably threes. According to my calculations, if he's averaging 4 3-pointers in those 20 minutes over the last 2 games, and his player prop is at 8.5, that's 9 points. That's 3 3-pointers. That's something he's been doing. So I'm really not asking him to do something he's not used to doing. He just needs to get in there and shoot the ball, and we need Prizepicks to put this prop on the board so we can take the over on this one. So this is going to be our second play of the day. Hopefully it does get put on the board at some point so we can put that into our slips. All right, so let's move on to a couple of player props that are actually on the board. And we're going to head on over to the Memphis and LA game. And it's going to be a first half stat or first half prop. And I want to talk about John Morant over 24.5 fantasy points, first half fantasy points. Let's head on over to props.cash and I'll share with you why I like this prop. All right, so looking at the playoff game log for John Morant, we have 2 games, very different results. First game, he gets injured, doesn't finish the game. Second game, he comes back and just destroys all the player props. And it's nice to see him back. He looked explosive as hell. His hand looked fine to me. Did turn the ball over a few times, but Only 3 turnovers. I don't think that's anything concerning. His burst is there. He was drawing contact. He was making shots. He was dropping dimes. He was doing all these things. And so overall, his PRA last game, I mean, was incredible. I mean, I think he was well over 60 PRA in that game. Not something we can expect from Ja Morant every game. But we're talking about his first half. So the one thing I really did take away from that last game versus the Lakers is the Memphis Grizzlies got them in the bonus like really early, and Ja Morant was just living at the free throw line. When I actually turned away from that game, I think he was 11 for 11 or 12 for 12 from the free throw line. 12 free throws. A lot of those coming from the bonus. So I don't want to look at that and say that's going to happen every game. So that's why I'm looking at his first half, because they weren't in the bonus in the first half. And what he was doing in the first half was doing a little bit of everything: scoring, dishing out assists, rebounding, and we talk about fantasy scores, so we obviously want to make sure that we're accounting for steals and blocks, and then those turnovers. So like I mentioned, those turnovers were there. He had 3 for the entire game. However, they weren't enough to keep his production down. So it's a welcome sight. I like that, because we don't want a player who's going to ruin your night with turnovers. I don't think that's the case with Ja Morant. Now, one thing I want to make note of in the first half for Ja Morant is he did go over this fantasy score prop, or this fantasy score line in the first half. However, he did it on such a limited shooting. He shot 10 times, 4 of 10, so 40% from the field in the first half. I mean, I think we're all used to seeing him closer to 50%. So possible that we see more shot volume from Ja Morant in the first half, resulting in more shots made. His threes were there, 2 for 2 from 3. Everything looks good for this game. Any prop that we talk about can go down real fast. But I like what I'm seeing on this one. I like the information that I'm finding here to support this prop. Give me the over 24.5 fantasy points for Ja Morant. First half fantasy points for Ja Morant as our third player prop. All right, and for our fifth player prop, I guess, same player, same prop, but different structure, different format here. So let's talk about LeBron James, 43.5 PRA, and LeBron James, 21.5 first half PRA. You're gonna think I'm crazy for this one. I like the under on both of these props. Let's head on over to props.cash and I'll tell you why. All right, over on props.cash, we have his playoff game log up, and we have 4 games. We have 3 versus Memphis and 1 versus Minnesota. Now, we can look at all 4 of these games because the result is identical. 19 PRA in all 4 games. That's crazy, right? But against Memphis specifically, we're not seeing a whole lot change game over game over game. 10, 12, and 12 points in those 3 games. His rebounds have been all right, 6, 6, and 5. I mean, those things, they attribute to the PRA, but he's not grabbing double-digit boards where that's taking him over the line. And then his assists are really down in the first half, 3, 1, and 2. So overall, 19, 19, 19 versus Memphis in the first 3 games. And it's not because he's seeing less minutes or because he's, losing his touch or anything like that. That's just the trend in this game, in this series. And I'm willing to take the under on it, because if there was ever a game that LeBron James came out and destroyed the Memphis Grizzlies, it was going to be the last game. And I don't think we see any, crazy Superman performance from LeBron in the first round. I think that's something that we'll see in the later rounds should the Lakers advance to, the Western Conference Finals or even the finals. So this gives me confidence to take the under on LeBron James first half PRA. And then looking at his full game PRA as the 5th pick today, everything that I just said for his first half PRA applies to the full game PRA. 37, 43, and 39. Now, this one against Memphis on the 19th, he hooked it. He was 0.5 away, or, basically 1 away from going over this line. But the other 2 games, I mean, he's fallen well short. He's not even getting out of the 30s in terms of his PRA, and all that applies in terms of his shooting, his points scored. So for me, it just feels like LeBron James is not taking this series over. I don't believe that This is the series that he needs to take over, and I'm willing to take the under instead of the over on his PRA props, both first half and full game. So give me that as our 5th pick on the board. All right, and just to recap the plays that we talked about in today's video, you're only going to see 4 out of the 5, but let's quickly run through them. We got Max Strus under 18.5 PRA, John Morant over first half 24.5 fantasy score. We got LeBron James under both first half PRA and full game PRA, and our 5th pick, our invisible pick, Duncan Robinson over 8.5 points, full game points. Should that prop be put on the Prizepicks board? Take the over on that one. I think it's a little too low for Duncan Robinson. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's player prop Prizepicks video. Drop a comment below letting me know what you think about these plays. Also, let me know who you have your eyes on the player prop board. And as always, thank you all so much for the continued support, the likes, the subs, and all of the comments. It truly helps this channel get a bit bigger every single day. So thank you all so much. Best of luck to you all tonight. Should you tail any of these plays, drop a comment below letting me know. And until tomorrow's player prop playoff NBA Prizepicks video, Chavez is